Hello everyone, this is Margarita with CityGal Papeterie. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I'm going to be making some cards using scrap paper today. I'm using A2 size card bases. They are 5.5 by 4.25 inches. And I'm also going to use some pre-embossed mats that are 5.25 by 4 inches. And I'm going to grab some random pattern papers from my stash. These are 12 by 12, but I do cut them down to the same size as my other card mats. They are I'm going to cut them to 5.25 by 4 inches. You can use any paper you have for card mats. You don't even need to use card mats. You can put your scrap papers directly onto your card base if you choose, if you don't want to have a background pattern. I cut 2 of each design. So I'm cutting them here, and then I repeat that with my other 2 pattern papers. And so now I have 6 mats to work with. I'm going to grab a bunch of strips from my stash, from my scrap stash, and I'm just laying them out here. I want to see more or less which patterns and colors go well together. And just laying them all out like this next to each other gives me the best view of, what they're going to look like once they're next to one another. I want to pick colors that are contrasted, also within the same tone. I don't want something that's like neon with something that's pastel, for example. So I want to just make sure that they're all going to go well together. If they're too big, I do cut them down. So the purpose here is to have strips of ascending size, so from smallest to largest. And you can probably guess I'm going to be making a little tree with them. This is not an original idea. I've seen these in many places, and I wanted to make one using just my scrap paper. So there they are, nicely stacked in a triangular form so that they look like a little Christmas tree. As you can see, I'm not using any kind of traditional colors here, but nonetheless, I think it still looks Christmassy in the end. I also grabbed this piece of gold glitter paper, and I punch a scallop circle to put in my background. That is optional, obviously. And then I grab another piece of scrap and I start to adhere my pieces down, my little strips down, in the order that I want them to be. The bottom is just going to be the trunk of the tree. And I add some glue. This is just regular white glue. Nothing fancy. And then I just lay them down in the order that I want them to be on my tree. Now, as you assemble your tree, you can decide whether or not some of the pieces are too long or too short, or you decide that you want to use a different pattern. You'd want to correct those things here. And I'm not too concerned about straightness because I want it to have a whimsical feel. So it doesn't matter to me that they are not straight or perfectly straight. If that is what your preference is, then obviously you will have yours nice and straight. Once I have all my little pieces in place, I make sure that I leave a piece of my background scrap at the top, and that's because I am going to punch out a star and glue it to that. So you can see here more or less what the outcome is going to be. I punched out 2 stars to, just decide which of the 2 I like better based on the pattern. So now I glue my star down, and I like having the gold paper in the back. I mean, I could have used any other paper, I guess. You could use, some solid color just to kind of give the tree a little bit more contrast against the background, since it's also a pattern and then your tree has pattern. So this way it stands out a little bit. Here I am layering a few more pieces of that orange scrap paper to give some dimension to my tree without using foam tape. I didn't want it to be so high, you know, and sometimes when I use foam tape, I feel like it's just a little bit too dimensional. So my my trick to that is just to add some additional pieces of cardstock behind it so that it still kind of pops up a little bit, but not too much. Then I grabbed this little twine that I have from Stampin' Up, and I'm gonna just add a little bit of detail to the side of my panel here before I put it down. This is optional, of course, but you can use any other thread or string that you might have. You can use ribbon as well. And then I take another little piece and I'm just tying a bow to the bottom of the panel there, of the twine. And now I've put some double-sided tape on the back of my panel and I'm adhering it right onto my card base. And this is how it turns out, and I think it's really cute, and I like that it's not traditional. Now moving on to my next card, I am just cutting some pieces off of this scrap paper, and I'm gonna cut it down to a triangular shape. So I've already marked my center at the top, and I'm now just cutting from the center where I marked down to the bottom corner to make a triangle shape. Then I take another piece of pattern scrap paper and I trim that down as well. And what I want to do here is just create another triangle that's just slightly bigger than the one I just made. So I center it right onto my piece, and then I'm going to mark at the top how large I want my triangle, like how much bigger I want it to be from the first one, and then I'm going to trim that down as well. So I'm just going to cut along my mark, and then to mark my center, this is how I do it. I just have my corners meet and I make a small crease at the top. And so then I just follow that little mark and I cut from there down to the bottom left corner, and then I repeat that with the other corner. And then I grab yet one more color of pattern paper. So I have 3 layers here. And then again, I'm just using some regular white glue to stick these together. And of course, this is just another non-traditional little Christmas tree. And I grabbed another piece of that green pattern paper to use as the base of the tree. And then I punched a little star out of that gold glitter paper that I had. It's actually sticker paper, but I don't always use it that way. And so here I'm just putting down my little star. And that's pretty much that. I think I add some twine as well. Yeah, so I'm adding some of that same Stampin' Up! Baker's twine. I adhere that down with some double-sided tape. Grab another piece, make a little bow. For this one, I center it at the bottom of the tree. And that's how that one turned out. And again, I will amp it up at the end. I add some things to it. So you've got your, kind of plain card, very simple, and then you can have it be more complex and more fancy by using or adding just a few more things. For this card, I am using 3 pieces of pattern scrap paper to create 3 little presents. I've cut some of my gold glitter paper down to strips so that it gives the appearance of ribbon on presents. And I am now just arranging them onto my card mat. I added a few more strips of gold, and here I am just layering them down. So my blue present is directly on the card mat. The red present I've elevated using other pieces of cardstock the way that I did with the first card. And then the green piece is elevated with foam tape. So this way you kind of can see, they look like they're in 3 different layers. They have 3 different heights. I think that makes more sense, right? And then I just add these little satin bows that I have in my stash. And I add some double-sided tape on the back. And then I put that down onto my card base. And that completes this card. For now. I do add more to it later on. Super cute. And very simple. And yeah, for the next one, I just repeated that process. So I made 2 of these using different scrap papers. For this one, I just used 1 bow instead of 3. Now I'm going to take one of my embossed mats and some circle punches. I punched some circles from some of the papers that I had in my scrap stash. Now I'm cutting some strips from my gold glitter paper or sticker, because this is adhesive paper. And then I'm gonna start cutting some smaller pieces at an angle. This is gonna be hard for me to explain, but I mean visually I hope it makes sense. So I'm basically trying to recreate the tops of ornaments. So I'm cutting smaller pieces so that they have almost like the top of a tag, you know, that you would cut the corners off and it would look like a trapezoid. Sorry, I brought math into my into my crafting. I hate math. And so I adhere those to the top of my little circles. And now they're looking more like little ornaments. And I'm just straightening out the top. I do thin it out, I think, a little bit more because I felt like it was just too high. And then I'm going to adhere that onto a piece of cardstock so that it looks a bit thicker, a bit higher off of the card mat without using foam tape again, because I didn't want to use foam tape. I don't know, foam tape is just too thick for me sometimes. So this way it gives it a tiny bit more dimension without being over the top. See? Super cute. I love these. And these are great with pattern papers that have like geometrical shapes and things like that. I think they look really cute. I repeat that. This is just a close-up of what my little ornament looks like now. And that's the back. I repeat that with 2 other circles. And then I'm going to use, oh, I guess I lied. I do use some foam tape here. I adhere my twine with foam tape. And then I try to put them onto my mat at different heights. So they look like they're dangling from the top of the card. I love this because it's like, it's very Christmassy, I think, without being very Christmassy. You know what I mean? And you get to use your scrap paper, of course. That's always a plus. Here I'm just adhering my twine to the back of the card mat. This Stampin' Up twine, this baker's twine from Stampin' Up is so soft. Sometimes twine can be pretty stiff, and I really love their twine because it's just so soft. Not that that's relevant right now, but just so you know. And then I take some smaller circles and I'm going to adhere those right onto the card mat as well. So I've got little baubles, right? That's what they're called, baubles, in different sizes. These I'm just putting on there with double-sided tape. And then my twine. Now, if you don't have circle punches and you want to do this, you can just you can trace your circles, you know, using another item in your home. Washi tape is a good one because it gives you two different circle sizes. You get the inside circle and then the outside circle as well. And washi tapes come in different sizes also. And so there are all my little ornaments. I'm now going to adhere that panel down onto another panel. And I like that the back panel, the green pattern paper, also matches one of the ornaments. So it gives it a nice flow. And then I place that entire thing onto my card base. And again, it's nice and simple, but you can amp it up again some more. I do add something to it at the end. And I'm definitely getting the most of this glitter paper. So I'm cutting thicker strips now than I've been using thus far. I do cut 2 thicker strips. And I'm going to use one of my other embossed mats here. I peel off the backing and I put it down towards the left hand side of my card mat, and then I place the other strip perpendicular so it looks like an ornament. Not sure if you caught that, it passed really quickly, but I did cover the back with some foam tape, and then I added some twine, which I should have added before, but I was able to pull up my card mat without too much problem since I didn't press it down all the way. And then I take another pattern paper circle punch, and I'm going to put that down on the center of where my 2 strips cross. I'm going to adhere that with a glue dot. And then I add a green satin bow over that, also using a glue dot. And now this card is done for now. Cute. I love it. These are the 6 cards, how they look in their simple form. And now I'm going to pull out my goodies. I have a bunch of stuff that I purchased at AC Moore when they were going out of business. I also bought some, these I think are from Walmart, from their like Christmas section last year. And I think they were like 50 cents for the pack. And they say that they're confetti. I don't know who uses confetti this big, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a die and I can use it, or it's a die cut and I can use it on my cards. So you can see, like, just adding that one thing and then this little sentiment that I had in my stash, it just adds this really nice, I don't know, pizzazz to the card. And, you know, and it's not adding much more, just that. And I think it brings that, you know, card to wow. You know what I mean? Like, it's not as simple as just a little presents on there. It gives you more to look at, and you have your sentiment as well. And that's if you have things like this. If you have stamp sentiment, you could use that. But really, you don't need to use a sentiment at all. I mean, pretty much shape of a tree with a star on top is kind of a universal sign for Christmas tree. So I feel like it's not necessary. Same like the present. I mean, I feel like depending on the colors you use, it can represent, a Christmas present on its own. But I do add this little piece of paper that I cut out of another piece of cardstock that says December 25th. For my ornament card, I'm going to add this little sentiment that I'm cutting out of some of that pattern card stock that is to the right of the screen. It has some like strips with lettering, and that's what I'm using here. And then I grab these little stickers. They're like glitter, snowflake, foam stickers. And I'm going to add a few to this card to just give it a little bit something more. And again, like these little embellishments are totally optional. That card looks like a Christmas card without the snowflakes. But I do like to use what I have, and I did have these. Also, the best time to buy if you're concerned about spending, the best time to buy these types of embellishments are when Christmas is just about over and the shops want to get rid of their Christmas stuff, because that's when they usually go on sale or they're on clearance. So how cute is that? Then I have these stickers with little ornaments, and I add these to my other tree card. And I add a sentiment to that. I think I end up having to move one of the ornaments because it was overlapping. And there's that one. And then on the inside, I have this wooden stamp that says Season's Greetings, which I think is, again, nice and inclusive. And I put this inside of each of the cards, so they all have the same sentiment on the inside, and it still leaves some room to write a message, so I don't have to feel like there's this gigantic empty space on the inside. There's that cute little stamp right on there. And here's the result. Here are the cards with their added embellishments. They were made using scrap paper. The only Christmas themed items on them are the added embellishments. The cards themselves were made using scrap paper and some pattern paper from my stash. Which again, I think these would look nice without the pattern paper in the back. They could be done just directly on the card base. But I love pattern paper. And I love embossed paper. I don't know if I've ever said that before, but I love embossed paper. I pre-emboss a lot of mats and I like keep them in my stash. I love using them on cards. So I hope this gave you some ideas. I hope you'll use up some of your scrap paper this Christmas, and I'll see you guys next time.